In a previous video, I mentioned that Arrtx colored pencils are a great alternative to Prismacolors, and the only downside in that video was that they only had 72 color options. Well, I'm excited to share that the latest set of colored pencils from Arrtx has 126 pencils. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video, I'll be sharing the new set of Arrtx 126 color pencil set. As I mentioned in the last video, I love these pencils. They really are a great alternative to Prismacolors. If you like that creamy, smooth effect and ability to blend, these are a great option for a great price. So let's take a look at this 126 colored pencil set. So the new 126 colors of Arrtx color pencils are similar to the old ones in that they both have saturated colors, soft cores, they're artist quality, they have a nice thick durable lead that resists breaking, they have a wide range of colors, and you can layer them up on top of each other, up to 5 layers without having any slipping of the pencil on the paper. But the new set has a portable vertical insert box with safeguard foam for cushioning to keep the leads from breaking. And the difference of this box is that they actually have individual slots for each pencil. So I mentioned in the 72 box that they were all together in a row, and so when you took a couple out, they kind of all moved around. These are actually in their own slot, so that is really handy, and it keeps them more organized, and once you get them in the order that you want them, they will stay in that order. Of course, they have a nice white that is really great for shading, and they have the silver and the gold metallic. So I swatched out all 72 colors in the Arrtx 72 color video that I did, and I also showed how nicely they blend and how creamy they are. So the barrels are nice round barrels. They're not too big, not too small, so they sit in your hand really nicely. I am not going to reorganize these yet. I want to put all the colors down on paper first, and then I'll reorganize them based on Roy G. Biv. But for now, I just want to show you all the different colors. So the expanded set of 126 colors has many more midtones. So there will be a light, a dark, and a mid-tone for each hue, which is really nice because then you can do all that fun shading and blending like you would do with an alcohol marker. You can have the darkest color in the darkest area and then pull that out with the mid-tone a little bit and then use the lighter color for the highlights. And you can always go in with that white pencil for highlights, and I'll show you how I do that later in the video. There are plenty of each different color. You get tons of reds and pinks, oranges, blues, yellows, even browns. For those of you that do critters, that's great to have. There's even a neon. There's a pink neon, orange neon, and yellow neon. There's plenty of greens for those of you who do florals and leaves and things like that. So this is really a comprehensive set. And like I said, for the price, 126 pencils that can do all the blending and shading and are so creamy, that is a steal. So I really like this expanded set. I think it's going to be really nice to have. If you already have the 72 set, those colors are included in this, and then the expanded colors are included. Now, let's use those pencils to make a couple of cards. For this card, I'm going to do some no-line coloring. So I have the Gina K Designs Amalgam ink in Whisper, and it's a light color gray. I think I actually had some black ink on the stamps, and that's why it looks a little bit darker than it normally does there, but that's okay. We're going to cover it up. So to start with, the leaves and the stems on these flowers are pretty thin, so I'm not going to do any blending and shading there. I'm just going to color them in with a green, and you can see that I test the colors down below to see what I'm going to like. I did do a little bit of blending on the leaves of the bud there. These are Cosmo flowers, and this set is from Waffle Flower, and I'll link those down below in the YouTube description box along with the pencils. And the pencils are available in a number of countries at Amazon, so I will link to a bunch of them down below as well. Okay, for the flowers, I'm going to have a few different techniques that I'm going to use. The first one I'm going to do is color in all the petals in the lightest color that I'm going to use. Then I'm going to go over some of the lines that are sort of towards the center of the flower, but also the line of the petal to cover up that gray. I'm going to go over it with the darkest color that I'm going to use. And this is going to be just a really easy tracing that I'm doing of these. I'm not doing anything fancy yet. And then I'm going to take a mid-tone and I'm going to lightly cover over the yellow and the darkest color on the lines. And then last, I'm going to color over all of that with the yellow again. This time I'm pressing down a little bit harder. Those first couple, I really did a light touch when I was coloring over them. Now I'm blending them all together and I'm getting that creamy look by pressing down a little bit harder. Not so hard, but definitely enough that you can see that I'm blending out even the darker orange. And that is just a really easy way to get kind of that gradient of color on a petal. I'm going to go back over some of the lines because when you go over them with that lightest color, you do lose some of the detail that maybe you actually wanted. So I'm going to go back over them with another orange just so that you can still see the petal details that the stamp image actually gives you. And then once again, I will use that yellow to blend it out a little bit. And again, I'm using a little bit more pressure to blend those out. And then I still go back in to do the flower center. And for that, I'm just going to do lots of dots of color. I have a darker orange, kind of a reddish color, and lots of dots together. And then I can blend them out a little bit with the lightest color. For the bud, I don't have as much real estate to work with here, but I'm going to do basically the same technique with the lightest color and then add the darker color on the lines, blend those out, add the mid-tone, and then blend those out as well. And you can see how nice it turns out. This is probably a little bit more time consuming than most of my clean and simple cards, but it is very relaxing to do, and these pencils are really easy to use. So I am definitely not a pencil colorist at all. I like to try it out and I like to have fun and I like to color in flowers and things like that. And I like to see what kind of techniques I can get done by trying these different techniques of pencil coloring. So for this one, I'm actually going to outline the flower first with the darkest color. Then I'm going to start at the inside of the flower with that darkest color. I'm going to draw that out with the mid-tone, and then I'm going to draw that out even further all the way to the tip of the petal with the lightest color I'm going to use. Lastly, I'm going to add some white. That white pencil will just be at the tips of those petals to add highlights, and then some yellow for the flower center. And I'm really happy with how these turned out. I am using a pencil pad, and I will link to that down below as well. And I decided to put these all on some pattern paper from Pink Fresh Studio. So I have two different pieces of pattern paper there. One is just a strip on the side, and then I'm going to pop up each of these flowers. So you can see when I laid that flower down, I did not press it down. That's because I'm not exactly sure where I want it yet, and that's okay. But you can either leave the backings on as you place them, or you could just not press down really hard until you're 100% sure that they are where you want them. For a little finishing touch, I'm using some of the Concord and 9th sequins that I shared in my last video, and I'm just using an embellishment tool to place them with some liquid glue. And I really love how these flowers turned out. And I can say I had a lot of fun coloring them as well. If you don't have as much time as that, or you don't feel confident trying that right now, there is a really easy way to do no line coloring with an image. You're going to start with the same light color ink, some type of light ink, and then you're just going to color on top of the images. And you're not going to worry too much about the lines or the shading or pretty much anything, because we left the stamps exactly where they were in the mini MISTI. So if you have a stamp positioner, you stamp the images, leave the stamps where they are, add some color with pencils or whatever you're using, and then we're going to stamp and heat emboss on top. And that is one of my favorite techniques because this coloring goes so much more quickly because I'm not really worried about how it looks or if it's blended or shaded correctly or anything like that. I'm just adding color in. So I've just grabbed some of my favorite blues from this set. They're absolutely beautiful. There's a real variety of blues, some lights, some midtones, some dark blues. And then I added the silver to the butterfly body. The other nice thing about this technique is that you can use a bunch of different colors that you like together, and they don't have to be exactly what you would imagine them if you were trying to be specifically in certain lines or get things exactly right. So for this butterfly, I have a dark orange, a pink, and a yellow, and I'm sort of going every other piece of the butterfly in different colors, but at some points I just kind of put whatever color I want right there. And all of this may not look great right now, but you can definitely see the beautiful colors that are in this collection of pencils. And then we're going to make it pretty by heat embossing on top of it. Again, for this last butterfly, I'm not even dealing with the lines. I'm just coloring it all in. So I wanted to use some purples because I hadn't shown you any of the purples yet from the set. And I'm like I said, I think when I stamped it, I didn't get a perfectly clear image, so I wasn't even sure where the lines were, to be totally honest, but I wanted purple, so I added some different hues of purple and a little bit of shading. Now I'm back in the Mini Misty. I'm going to add some anti-static powder tool all over, and I'm going to use some Versamark ink to heat emboss. So those butterflies are in the exact position that they were before, and I'm just adding Versamark this time instead of the other ink that I was using. Then I'm going to stamp again, and I'm going to place some Hero Arts glitter gold embossing powder right on top. And I absolutely love these butterfly images. These are from Simon Hurley for Ranger. I'll link to those down below as well. And then I'm going to heat set that glitter gold, and you can just see the sparkle. And check it out, they almost look like stained glass or something at this point, because I did use plenty of pressure to get that creamy look from the pencils. This way, once the heat embossing was on top, you can see all the details of the butterfly and the gorgeous color is underneath. I'm going to use the matching dies from Spellbinders to cut all of these butterflies out, and then I'm going to add a little bit of white gel pen detail. First of all, I got a little bit of coloring on the outside of the line. That's not a big deal, but if it bothers you, you can use a white gel pen to go over top. And then, since I had the white gel pen out, I decided to add little accents of white gel pen, which is really nice on top of pencil coloring because the pencil coloring is so creamy. This die is from Simon Hurley and Spellbinders, and I cut it out of gold mirror cardstock. I'm going to place it on an A2 piece of white paper, which is the same paper that I used for the pencil coloring. This way it all matches. I know that sometimes we don't like the way it looks when the outside of the die cut is not the same exact white as the background, so you can use this pencil pad for both the background and the die cuts. And I did stamp a little sentiment that says fluttering by to say hi, and added that on some foam tape as well. All the butterflies are popped up too, and last but not least, I still had these Concord and 9th sequins sitting on my desk and I wanted to use them up, so I added those as well to this card as a little accent. But I hope you can see how gorgeous the colors are in this set and how creamy and smooth they are to apply to stamped images. They are just great for card makers and beginners up to advanced colorists. I'd love to hear what you think of this new Arrtx extended color palette for colored pencils. Let me know in the comments below. If you want to check out my original Arrtx colored pencil video review, you can see that here. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Alternative. Makes them, if you, fine, it's going fine. Okay.